1 out of every 3 people it touched was killed. And if you survived, it left you blind or scarred for life. In the 18th century alone, a disease killed 400,000 people every single year in Europe. Yes, the disease was smallpox, and the world was desperate for a savior. But to save the world, the person had to perform an experiment that, by today's standards, would have landed him in prison. This is the true story of Edward Jenner. But to understand why Jenner did what he did, we have to go back to his childhood. You see, Edward Jenner wasn't just fighting a disease. He was fighting a childhood trauma. When Edward was a schoolboy, a smallpox outbreak hit. His family decided to protect him using the only method they had at the time: variolation. But variolation was brutal. Doctors at that time believed that to survive smallpox, your body had to be purified first. For weeks, the young Edward was starved. He was bled. He was given medicine that made him vomit and have loose stools until he was a skeleton. Only then, when his body was so weak, did they infect him with actual smallpox matter. Even though he survived, the torture haunted him for the rest of his life. He suffered from anxiety and nightmares for years. From then on, Jenner didn't just want to cure a disease. He wanted to stop the torture of the so-called cure. At the age of 21, he became an apprentice surgeon. He was a student under the famous John Hunter in London. Hunter gave Jenner a piece of advice that would change him entirely. He told him,
"Don't just think, Edward. Observe and do experiments to find out the truth."
Jenner took this to heart. He became obsessed with observation. On a lighter note, in fact, did you know that he was the first person to figure out that the baby cuckoo bird actually murders the other eggs in the nest by pushing them out? People didn't believe him then, but Jenner knew what he saw. It was only after advent of photography in 20th century, people realized what he said is actually true. This highlights the true power of keen observation. Now back to the story of smallpox. You've probably heard that Jenner met with a milkmaid who said,
"Sir, I can't catch smallpox because I've already had cowpox once."
It is true that the local farmers had known this for years. The problem was that nobody in the medical schools listened to such old wives' tales. Jenner listened. He spent years observing. He realized that cowpox, a mild disease from cows, could indeed protect humans from the deadly smallpox. But having a theory is one thing, proving it is another. In 1796, Jenner learns about a milkmaid named Sarah Nelmes, who has fresh cowpox sores on her hand. Jenner takes the cowpox matter from Sarah's hand, and then he calls in his gardener's son, an 8-year-old boy named James Phipps. He makes 2 cuts on the boy's arm and rubs the cowpox in. James gets a little sick, but he recovers quickly within 10 days. The experiment wasn't over. To prove James was immune, 6 weeks later, Jenner brought the boy back. This time, he didn't use cowpox. He took live deadly smallpox and injected it into the child. If Jenner was wrong, James Phipps would die. Imagine the tension that the family of the boy went through. Jenner watching the boy's arm day after day, waiting for the spots, waiting for the fever. But nothing happened. The boy was immune. Smallpox couldn't touch him. Jenner had discovered the very first vaccine, a word he invented coming from vacca, the Latin word for cow. You'd think the world would cheer, right? Wrong. The world lost its mind. When Jenner published his findings, the backlash was insane. People were terrified of putting animal matter into their bodies. This is a real cartoon from 1802. Critics claimed that if you took the vaccine, you would start mooing like a cow, grow hair all over your body, or even sprout horns. Other doctors were angry because they made a lot of money from the old variolation treatment. Jenner was ruining their business. But Jenner didn't fight back with anger. He fought back with kindness. In his garden, he built a small hut and called it the Temple of Vaccinia. Every Sunday after church, he invited the poor people of the village to come to this hut, and there, he vaccinated them for free. Jenner believed that saving lives shouldn't cost money. This little garden shed is considered the birthplace of public health. And what about James Phipps, the boy he experimented on? Jenner didn't just use him and throw him away like modern unethical trials. He built James a house for him to live in. Edward Jenner died in 1823. He predicted that one day, this practice of vaccination would annihilate smallpox. It took time, but in 1980, the World Health Organization declared smallpox eradicated. Jenner didn't just stop a disease, but he gave us a technique which saves millions of lives every year in the current world we live in. Comment below on what you would like to see next in our channel. Do subscribe to our channel to keep us motivated to post more videos.